How you doing, everyone? Welcome back. Well, you've probably seen the news out of Los Angeles. Some protests that, by the way, most people even in Los Angeles didn't even really know were going on. The protesters surrounded the facility where people were being detained. And, that seems to me like a reasonable form of protest, just to surround the building and demand the release of the people that were being held. But obviously there were some clashes with the police, which, did the protesters instigate that? Did the police instigate that? Who knows? Sometimes it'll go either way. Yeah, alright, a couple of cars got burned, but, they weren't like, privately owned, just some random person's car. They belonged to, some, $1 billion+ corporation that basically that they had like surveillance equipment in them and whatnot to monitor the protests or whatnot. And don't get me wrong, I'm not justifying vandalism of any kind, but I don't really feel bad for a multi-billion-dollar company losing a couple of vehicles, right? Multi-billion-dollar company, you lost what? Maybe a couple. What's your average car price now? About $40,000 vehicles, right? Plus whatever you had inside them. But again, not justifying it. That's not right. Don't engage in vandalism or other criminal activity. Remain nonviolent as long as possible. And by that, what I mean is, exactly what I said, as long as possible. If the violence comes to you and you don't have the will, you don't have the willpower to remain nonviolent, I understand. I really do. But don't instigate violence. Don't ever instigate violence. If you are able to remain nonviolent even when violence is being used against you, you are a stronger person than most. And you definitely deserve to be commended for that commitment to nonviolence. Protests, they do need to continue, and they have expanded. The Trump administration has called out the National Guard, and then he thanked the National Guard, basically praised the National Guard for putting an end to the protests before they even got there, right? He puts out the order for them to show up, and then local law enforcement got the situation under control before the National Guard showed up. But then we have our Secretary of Defense, Pete Signalgate Hegseth, probably drunk tweeting, and yet, I don't know, when is this guy ever sober? So he probably actually would call out the Marines like he threatened to do. Don't be surprised if we see United States Marines being used as law enforcement against American citizens. And to those Marines, I believe he said he'd call them out of Camp Pendleton. I know that's in California, so to those Marines, I'm just going to remind you, remember your oath. remember your oath. You are not there to be law enforcement, domestic law enforcement. That is not your role. That is not your role. And I'm saying this mostly to the higher ranking Marines that would be the ones relaying the orders. Remember your oath. But yeah, even to the lowest Marines. I'm talking to you, private first class, lance corporal. Remember that oath. And remember that you have an obligation to ignore an unlawful order. So, just remember that. Remember that. But yeah, protests, they are, I hope they're expanding, because we need more protests. We need them. We need them in every city, small town, main street, across the country, from coast to coast. I don't care if you're in Presque Isle, Maine, or if you're in Los Angeles, or New York City, or Lost Nation Isle. I don't care. Turn out. Show them. We need you. Your country needs you. I mean, that's not to say that nobody should be deported, because, I'm not a, hey, let's not deport anyone guy. I'm a, hey, you know what, let's give everyone due process guy. And these people are being denied due process. And if they're given due process and it's determined that they need to be deported, so be it. So be it. But if they're given due process, or if they're not given due process, how do we know they're supposed to be deported? We don't, do we? If they're given due process and it turns out that they should not be deported, leave them alone. Instead of some random quota, hey, we need to have this many people arrested and this many people deported, you're not just going after the criminals at that point, are you? Because they said they were going after criminals who are here illegally. And they're not. A 4-year-old with cancer, 4-year-old American citizen with cancer, being deported without medication. That is not. That's not what any of us should stand for. We should not allow that in this country. And by we, I mean we the people, not, we the people need to stand up to our government. I've been out there for a few protests. And got another one coming up. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. In fact, the 14th. I'm recording this on the 9th. So that's, 5 days from now, if my math is right? Yep, I'm going to be out there. The only question is where. Am I going to be somewhere here in my home state of Iowa? I know there's one in Chicago. I haven't been to like a big city protest. Right? But yeah, I am definitely going to be somewhere protesting remember correctly, the 14th is on a Saturday. So, I don't know, I'm not looking at my calendar. But, yeah, get out there, show up. Also, by the way, to the regime, you realize that by calling out the National Guard and possibly even the Marines like you threatened, by calling them out and having them enforce, to step in and basically take over for local law enforcement in Los Angeles, you're going to do a few things with that, right? And it's not going to work out in your favor. First of all, you're going to expand the protests. We're going to have more protests because of you escalating the situation. I don't remember who it was. I want to say it was Tom Holman, who said that we have to escalate in order to de-escalate. No. You de-escalate the situation. You don't ramp it up, and then, have people killed in the streets in order to bring it down. No. It is on you in the government to bring it down. You have to bring it down. And you don't bring it down by bringing it up. But something else that's going to happen, I know a lot of people within this regime, complain about military recruitment numbers being down. In peacetime, that's not really such a bad thing. Not that we've ever really known peacetime. But our country is not actively at war. So, yes, we should have a military that is ready. But maybe it's okay to have fewer personnel at this point in time. But you know what? Even if we're below where we should be as far as personnel, go ahead, call the Marines out. See how quickly your recruitment numbers plummet. We've heard for years that the left is going to bring back the draft. Your recruitment numbers drop below where you want them. Just might be this regime that implements the draft. And I really hope they don't. And if they do, well, hopefully we have another Vietnam situation where not obviously a war like Vietnam, but a situation where people will proactively fight against being drafted. Kind of like the current so-called president. He dodged the draft 5 times. He bought 5 deferments. But he's some big tough guy, right? A coward, hiding behind a military that he had his chance to serve in, and proactively avoided serving. It's not like he just didn't enlist. No, he was called and decided, nah, Daddy's going to buy me out of this. Anyway, stay out there. Stay vigilant. If there's a protest near you, show up. If there's not, organize one. I'll catch y'all.